So back in November 2022, we awarded a one to watch to a new or new to me company operating in Japan and focused on bringing responsible tourism. And it was particularly for Kyoto by the Sea, which Japan-san is trying to change in some interesting ways. Jesse, thanks for making time to talk to me. How do you see what you're trying to do in Kyoto by the Sea?
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, when we won the One to Watch award, what we had done was tried to create a new model for tourism in the area. And we had actually worked closely with, so I'm from Kyoto by the Sea, and we work closely with Japan-san. They're our marketing partner. And together with them, we actually started, before we even started this process, we started with doing focus groups with travel agents in the area to.
So these are incoming travel agents.
Yes, correct. And we specifically selected travel agents that were either already certified or working towards certifications in sustainability, so Travel Life and B Corp. So they already had a pretty good foundation, and we actually brought them into the area and specifically showed them some of what we had been developing, and had them give us feedback specifically about sustainability. And we kind of gave them the vision for what we wanted to do in the area, which was create tourism that benefits not only the people visiting, but also the local residents, because I think the local communities are often forgot about in the grand scheme of tourism.
So let's just fill in some of the background for people who might be listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
Kyoto by the Sea is named because it's close to Kyoto?
Yes, so Kyoto is not only the city, but it's also a prefecture, and it's quite a large prefecture. It runs from the south, kind of close to Osaka, all the way up to the Sea of Japan. And the region that I represent is 7 cities and towns that are based on the Sea of Japan. So we are in Kyoto, but we are outside the city. So you can just take a limited express train up to our area.
So it's accessible from the city as a day trip, is it?
You can do it as a day trip. We definitely recommend people staying. That's kind of our entire mission. So, but yes, we do get people day tripping. I do day trip Kyoto City from where I live.
So do people stay overnight? Presumably, do they stay in one of the village houses that I can see behind you in the photograph?
That is a place that people stay. We have quite a lot of accommodations in the area. We have farmhouses, we have high-end ryokan and hotels. The area has been a popular destination on the Japanese side for many, many generations. We have this one location called Amano Hashirate, which is one of Japan's 3 scenic views, and it's kind of been a hub of artisans and culture for centuries at this point. And so actually a lot of Japan's famous poets, even the emperor has actually been up to our area to, I think, vacation and kind of reset.
So I was looking at some of the pledges that you told us about when you won the award back in 2022. And there's a number of things which are, to say the least, unusual. So you ask visitors who travel with the inn pledge to commit to a minimum 2-night stay.
Yes.
You want to explain why you do that?
Well, I guess it starts with the area has quite a lot of domestic tourism, and you know, a lot of the travelers that are coming up to our area are, you know, especially in the village of Ine, which is behind me. They're coming and they're staying for one night, and I think the main goal is just to stay in a boathouse and say, yes, I stayed in a boathouse. And it's of course benefiting the accommodation, but it's not necessarily providing much benefit for the people that live in the area. And so the idea behind what we're doing is to create this INE pledge that our trusted partners will sign on to, and it will ensure that their travelers spend 2 nights minimum in the area, eat at local restaurants, do an experience in the area, usually with a local artisan or a local person doing a walking tour or cycling tour. And it also includes a bit of pre-travel education to the potential guests that are coming to the area, just so they understand what we're trying to do, how to, visit our area responsibly. Specifically, the boathouse village of Ine. It's still an active fishing village. That's why it exists to begin with. And so to help protect their lifestyles and their culture, just kind of letting the customers know what kind of village it is. They wake up early, they go to sleep early, just so everyone can have a good experience. If the people in Ine feel like the visitors are respectful, then they're going to want to be super friendly and talk to them. And I think it's a really good cultural interaction. But if the local residents are left out of this conversation, then you'll end up in situations where the local residents resent tourism, and we really don't want people resenting tourism in the area.
So one of the other things I noticed when the application came in was this commitment you expect of the tour operators and agencies that you work with, that there'll be at least one 6,000 yen experience. Now, 6,000 yen is about £40, I believe. That's a lot of money for one experience. Do you get, well, first of all, why did you do that?
Why did we do that? Well, we wanted to, I guess the main issue is, I was attending this Adventure Tourism World Summit in 2022, and there was a specific speaker who said that destinations should stop selling what the visitors want and start selling what the destinations need, in order to create a more holistic approach to tourism. And the visitors want the stay in Ine. They want to stay in a boathouse. But that's not what the destination needs. The boathouses are already popular. They're already making money. And the local residents are often left out of that. They complain, I shouldn't say complain, but they talk about how, yes, the accommodations are busy, but that doesn't necessarily translate to the rest of the town. Our job as a DMO means Destination Management Marketing Organization. Our job should be to manage the tourism. And that means both sides of things, meaning not only the visitors coming and helping the travel agents make money, but also supporting the local businesses and the local residences. So I think it's important to provide a bit of economic value to the entire town.
Are the kinds of experiences which are available, if I remember correctly, you've got quite a lot of very traditional crafts in the town.
Yes, well, it's not just in the town, also in the neighboring area. So, we're connecting it. We're not just selling Ine. We sell, we promote the 7 cities and towns, and across the 7 cities and towns in our area, we have a lot of traditional heritage arts, from weavers to paper makers to lantern makers, sake breweries. So we're trying to work with local artisans who are open to tourism. And of course, we cultivate this relationship over years. I mean, we're not just meeting an artisan and asking if they're interested in tourism. We develop relationships because we really want things to work.
One of the things that's been developed in Kerala is a thing called a village life experience, which is a half day or full day excursion to visit 5 or 6 different households to see how people make a living, either through fishing or farming or from craft. This sounds as though it might have some similarities with that, in the sense that people are going to visit, presumably, the craft person in their workshop rather than buying from the hotel gift shop.
Yes, correct. So what we're doing is working with artisans that have small workshops and allowing visitors to kind of see into their world, learn about the history a little bit, um, if it's a technique that they created themselves, how they came up with it, a little bit about the process, as much as we can do during that period, and usually some time in their private galleries. So, you know, they'll have products that only they have in their gallery spaces too. So, and some of that stuff is for sale.
Right. And how do you cope with the language challenges? I mean, I'm
Um,
guessing that most of your international visitors don't speak Japanese.
yes, that's correct. Um, Well, we have a couple of ways that we work with that. One is the Kyoto by the Sea DMO, our company. We have been doing local guide training for 5 years now.
Right.
And so we have quite a number of English speaking local guides that we've done training with. You know, the biggest challenge for Japan isn't actually English level, it's the way that a lot of overseas visitors want to be guided. Um, you know, during the guide training, we say, if you can read it off of a Wikipedia page, you probably don't need to talk about it. So, you know, we're working to create a more immersive guiding experience, and so we have you know, a few dozen people that have graduated from the kind of beginner level into the intermediate, where they do a bit more advanced guiding, so creating their own courses, um, you know, with their own passions. And then once they get to our advanced stage, you know, they become one of our trusted guides that we use regularly. And we also work in kind of story building, because I think story building is a very important part of the travel experience.
Yes, I mean, we're very clearly storytelling animals, for good and bad,
Mm.
in that sense. Let me try and, Jesse, let me try and sum up what I think I've understood from this.
Mhm.
You work for Kyoto by the Sea. You're a DMO. Unusually, you're a DMO where M means management rather than marketing. One of the big understandings of responsible tourism is that the emphasis needs to go on the management rather than on the marketing. And too often in tourism, marketing isn't any more than promotion. And you see an equal responsibility to ensure that the guest had a good experience, but also that the host, the resident community, have a positive experience of tourism. Does that sum up what you're about?
Yeah, I talked for 10 minutes, but you just did it in 90 seconds.
Yeah, but in a lot less interesting way. The question, the final question I wanted to ask you, Jess, is how is that going down with the other travel agencies and operators? Because you're offering what I would assume to be at least a slightly more expensive experience, a more immersive experience, an experience of slow travel. But I would guess there are still a lot of people sending Instagram type tourists to who are there just to get their photograph, possibly just going for the day, in and out, very exploitative. It's the Venice problem, if you like. I imagine
Mhm.
you have that in a. What's the response of the rest of the travel industry? And perhaps you might want to comment on the National Tourist Office and how they see what you're doing.
Um, well, I will just make a note about so JNTO is the Japan National Tourism Organization. And I was just at an event that they sponsored this past week in London. And actually, their mission for next year is sustainability will be the base. And the three strategies or pillars of focus that they had, number one was slow tourism. Um, Two was luxury travel, and the third was adventure. And so one of the things that all of these have in common usually means more immersive experiences it often means getting out of the cities. And I think one of the things that they're pushing for going forwards is actually to get people out of the cities, because Tokyo and Kyoto are busier than they've ever been at this point. And they're trying to kind of spread out that tourism a bit more, because I know people in Kyoto City who live there aren't necessarily happy with the tourism numbers. In terms of, could you just refresh what you would ask me?
What is the response from your competitors, as it were, in amongst other DMOs and travel agencies and tour operators?
Right. Well, one thing that I'll say about other DMOs is I don't view DMOs in Japan as competitors. I personally promote a lot of different regions, not just Kyoto by the Sea, when I go to sales conferences. I think it's important for all of Japan to experience success. If people don't come to my area, that's okay. I'm more than happy to recommend a different location. I'd much rather see people spend, 2 or 3 nights in a neighboring area than one day traveling across all these locations. It doesn't really benefit anybody. The visitor doesn't really get to know a location very well. They don't get to have an immersive experience, and they're missing out on so much that I'd happily say skip Kyoto by the Sea and go to, Kinosaki Onsen, which is right next door to us, if it means spending more time in one location. So that's on the DMO side of things. I really think that DMOs in Japan should support each other a bit more. I think we should do a lot more cross-border promotion with each other, and collaboration and cooperation. And so I've been, I always touch base with other DMOs and talk to them about what I'm doing to show them that, we can do this together. So that's one thing. In terms of the tour operators, what I'm proposing is not for everybody. And that's okay. I mean, we can't handle the type of numbers that Kyoto City can handle. Well, we couldn't even handle, I don't think, 10% of what Kyoto City gets. That their numbers are so high.
Jesse, I think what I was trying to get at is that you're operating an immersive experience.
Yeah.
What is necessarily a small physical space, given the mountain behind and the sea in front. It is necessarily a strip of village development, which is often the case with seaside villages. So you've got a lot of people trying to use a small space. And if you have got, take Venice as an example, it's very hard now to have a slow tourism experience in Venice, just because of the sheer pressure of the large numbers of people who basically fill that island nearly every day of the year. I'm just wondering if that produces for you problems of enabling you to do the slow immersive tourism that you want to do, if the place is full of people taking Instagram pictures of themselves surreptitiously up against the village cottage where they didn't in fact stay, but want to create the impression that they did.
Well, yeah, there's two aspects to this. One is the tour operators that we work with committing to selling the slow tourism. We, in terms of other tour operators, we recommend this kind of experience, spending 2 nights, experiences, local restaurants, and not all tour operators are going to want to sell that, and that's okay. However, INE is not positioned as a tour operator friendly area. It's quite difficult to get reservations months in advance, because they mainly do the domestic market. It's mainly individual travelers coming to the area. But that still poses its own problems. It's not just domestic tourism, it's East Asian tourism as well. And typically these people stay for one night. And if you look at the summer months, actually, the roads are filled with cars, and it's Japanese people driving up to the area and kind of clogging up the streets. And we're in the early stages of this. We have now 1 year of data of sending our visitors there. And it's a process, but what we're hoping to do is create a shift where rather than focusing on even domestic tourism, which is a high hurdle to clear for Japanese people, to kind of make a shift to working with us and our partners who are committed to spending more time in the area and doing local experiences as well.
Jesse, thanks for your time this morning. It's been really, really interesting, and I'll follow what happens next, as it were, with great interest. Thanks for your time.